Guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Friday, late afternoon, early evening, depending on when it is that you're actually going to be seeing this. I hope the day's treated you well. You've looked after yourself. You're looking forward to now a good weekend. If you're now going to be seeing this and you're in the pub, enjoy it. If you're seeing this in the pub and you're surrounded by people, that's a bit odd though, all right? But yeah, have one for me. In this video, we're actually talking around a really, really intriguing bit of news that came out from Alasdair Gold surrounding Spurs and a bit of a shift of interest from winger to striker. We'll be talking about some of the options that we are currently linked with and giving some stats and figures and all that jazz. You know what I normally do. As well as that, we'll talk about a new attacker that's going to be on the list included, and you'll sort of see what I'm going to be talking about with him as well. There's about 5 to go through, so plenty to get into. Just want to say, though, if you're new, give us a subscribe. You're very much welcome to join us for the journey. And yeah, let me start really with what Alasdair Gold said first and foremost. You have a bit of context first. He said, I've seen a couple of replies suggesting Spurs should instead get a statement signing of a left winger. Son is going to be Spurs' left winger next season. Werner and Johnson are good options as well, and Solomon too. Statement signings for me are needed in other positions. Technically, of course, Son could easily play as the right winger next season. I was more saying that I don't think he'll be needed through the centre next season, as they'll buy a striker. Worth remembering, Postecoglou said he's going to build his Tottenham team around Son. So, let's deep dive into some guys that we have been linked to. So, I will be going through them individually so you have a bit of an idea. So, we've been linked with Serhou Grassi, the Stuttgart striker. So, we're talking a little bit on him. Been linked with Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord. We've been linked with Ivan Toney from Brentford, Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth, and Dusan Vlahovich from Juventus. I'm throwing him in as a bit of one for you guys because I know a few of you are quite keen on him. We haven't really been linked with him, but I'll give you a bit of an idea. And then the 6th guy will be a guy that I'm going to speak about in a bit more detail on his own because he's the new guy I've been linked to. But let me start with Grassi first. So we've been linked to Serhou Grassi, I think, for probably the majority of this season, right? And the fact that he has a very, very manageable release clause, I think it's about 17 million or 14 million. It's one of those two, right? So this season, he's had a fantastic season. You know, he is a number 9. He plays through the centre for Stuttgart. He is at the moment 28. Okay, so he's already had his birthday for this football season, so he'll be 28 come the start of next season. In terms of performance, though, I think compared to all the guys that we're linked to, I think his performances have been the best this season. I mean, 23 games in the Bundesliga this year and 25 goals with 1 assist. In all competitions, including the German Cup, which I didn't play too much, 25 games, 27 goals, 2 assists. So we're talking a guy who averages at least a goal a game, but on top of that, throws in every sort of 10 or 12 an assist, which, you know, to be honest, in our system, I don't think it's really much about the striker getting you assists. I think it's about the striker getting on the end of the balls going across the box and things like that. So in terms of sort of output on production, absolutely there. Absolutely there. I mean, look, he's not exactly a small striker as well. So when I talk about, you know, I want a different form of striker than we normally have through a Son or, you know, a Richie, I think he offers you a little bit more of a presence. So, you know, he's definitely good. I mean, obviously, I'll give you my opinion on who I truly want in a second. But, you know, very good stats, to be honest, on him. We'll move over to Santiago Jimenez out in the Eredivisie for Feyenoord. 23 years old. He has his birthday in... Oh, no, it was his birthday yesterday. Oh, happy birthday for yesterday, Santiago. Obviously, now 23 years old. This season, he's had a good season, but his performances have tailed off a little bit, if I'm honest. 39 games played this season, 24 goals, 6 assists. So, I mean, even at the start of the season, if someone said that's what his stats would look like, you'd think, God, that's not bad, is it? You know, 30 goal contributions in 39 games, that's not too bad. But his performances have tailed off a little bit. Now, that's not to say that he's not a good player. He is. You know, I'm not gonna sort of poo-poo the idea that he's not. But, you know, in terms of performance-wise, I'd say maybe since the turn of the year, the performances have slipped off a little bit and the production has followed suit. I guess the way you look at it is in the Spurs system, how would he perform with such volume of chances being created for him? Okay, so that's not to say that he doesn't get a lot of chances at Feyenoord. I'm just saying at Spurs, when you look at what we create, sometimes you just kind of need a striker that offers you a little bit more of a presence, or in turn, a striker that can actually just be a bit of a poacher. When we've looked at Richarlison when Son was away on international duty and Richie was getting a lot of goals, he was scoring different types of goals, but he also was a presence in the box. He was getting on the end of flashes, and he was getting on the end of cutbacks and things like that. And we haven't really had that as much recently. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, between him and Grassi, I'd probably say Grassi for the time being, because again, cheaper, better level of football in terms of the Bundesliga, and he's scoring a goal every game. So never knock that. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for Harry Kane this season, Grassi would have much more about a shout about him. Let's move into Ivan Toney. Okay, so I probably won't use his stats of this season as much, just purely because obviously it's not been as a more in-depth season for him this year. So I mean, this season he's played 13 games, 4 goals, 1 assist. Obviously, we know he's moving in the summer. We know that's happening. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's talked about the fact that he wants to move. Obviously, some people talk about potential character issues with all the betting and things like that. In terms of just if we can step away from that side of things at the moment, character-wise, yeah, okay, whatever you might think about that, he is a bona fide goal scorer in the Premier League. Now, the one thing I would say is Transfer Market actually has Serhou Guirassy as taller than Ivan Toney. So Ivan Toney's obviously quite a large striker, quite a bit of a physical presence. They reckon Guirassy is just a tad bit taller, maybe an inch taller. So if you weren't sure about Grassi, now you know. But last season, Ivan Toney played 35 games in the Premier League and the EFL Cup. He scored 21 goals and 5 assists. So 26 goal contributions across 35 games. For Brentford is an amazing return. Even this season where he's had 13 and 5 in terms of goal contributions, 1 every 2.5 games, it's not the best. But again, he was coming in pretty rusty in terms of into the new season, so he was going to take time to get going, and I think he will get going towards the end of the season. I think Brentford are going to be safe now as well, but not only that, he wants to play himself into that next move, but he wants to play himself into some good money. I saw reports from the idea that he wants Manchester United to pay him like one of the big boys, the superstars, the Rashfords and Fernandes, and if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. He's not going to get it with Spurs. We wouldn't be giving him 350 grand a week. He might get 100 and he might get 100. He might get 110. He's not going to get that kind of money. Nor would I want Spurs to do that. So, again, I think value for money wise, Grassi, I think you'd go for, and I also think it would allow you to go big in other areas like a 10, like a 6, getting yourself still a centre back like a Tosin Adarabioyo or Lloyd Kelly. It would still give you so much more flexibility to be going for another winger or a fullback or a backup goalkeeper. On this channel, we talk about backup goalkeepers more than anything, So there is that. Right, moving over to Dominic Solanke. Right, let's have a look at Dominic Solanke. So actually, looking at Dominic Solanke, by the way, he is 0.01 metres taller than Ivan Toney. Says that as well. This season, at the moment, he is 26. He'll be 26 to start of next season. So that is something that you want to hold on to. The fact that you could have Solanke for 6-7 years. Ivan Toney, 28 at the moment. He's 28, so he'll be 28 at the start of the season. You get a couple of years. You might get a year and a half more, 2 years more on Solanke. So there's something that to hold on to. This season, he's played in 36 games, scored 19 goals and 4 assists, and that's across the FA Cup and the EFL Cup. So 23 goal contributions in 36 games. Very good production. I think people sort of sit there and go, God, look at Ivan Toney's last season, 35 and 26. Well, we've got 36 and 23, so there's not a lot between them. So people are saying, I really like Ivan Toney because we think he's really good, but maybe not Solanke. I would say just keep that in mind. Statistically wise, they're quite similar. And obviously this stat wise, we're talking about Solanke, is this season, not last season. Ivan Toney, obviously 13 games, 5 goal contributions. Hold that into your back pocket. Value wise, I think they're both going to be something similar, 50, 60, 70, somewhere in there. I think you could probably get Solanke maybe a tad bit cheaper just because of the fact that Ivan Toney's an England striker and things like that, even though Solanke has an extra few years left on his contract. I don't know, I just get that weird vibe. But yeah, I think if I had to choose between the two of them, I might go the Solanke route, just because I think his stats are more up to date now than Ivan Toney's. But I might still be hazard. I might still hazard my guess and say Grassi might still be the guy. You know, you're talking about a guy who's going to cost a third of what Solanke and Toney might cost. And I can't lie, that might be the way to go, because I still think I actually think this. If you went Grassi, I think you still keep Richarlison, and I would like that personally a lot more than selling Richie and bringing in a striker and having Sonny float between two. I'd rather go Richie, that guy, Sonny, Solomon. I think they probably will keep Werner at this rate. I don't know. But, Werner on the left with Sonny. You got Johnson and Kula on the right. You got Grassi and Richie through the centre. You got Solomon sort of floating between the two wings. I think that's much better. And I think that's actually a much stronger attack than what we potentially could hope for, So, yeah, I think if I was choosing between the four of those guys so far, I would go Grassi and then Solanke personally. Again, homegrown always stands up. And let me finish off with Dusan Vlahovic, the 24-year-old striker at Juventus. A lot of you are quite keen, so I wanted to kind of talk about him in a bit more detail. This season, he's played 30 games and got 19 goal contributions, 16 goals and 3 assists across the Italy Cup and the Serie A. So a much better season from this season. I mean, transfer market value at 65 million euros, about 60 million pounds-ish. I think he's going to cost you 70 or 80 million pounds. Again, is he going to be 4 or 5 times better than Grassi? No. So hence why I would still have Grassi ahead of Vlahovic. I mean, when you look at last season for Vlahovic, 42 games, 14 goals, 4 assists across 4 different competitions. He's obviously had a much better season this year. I think maybe potentially he's finally settled a bit more at Juventus. Obviously, they've had a bit of turmoil really over the last couple of years, Juventus, and maybe it's starting to settle down a bit more. I reckon they potentially may be moving on from Allegri in the summer. So he's having a better season for it, and potentially he will have an even better season next year with maybe a bit more of an attacking coach. Obviously, maybe they bring in a couple of more creative players. Obviously, Matthias Sule might go back in there and offer a bit more. I think he probably has a better season next year for sure. I mean, 25 games and 13 goals for Serbia is pretty decent as well. I just think if he's going to cost £70 million, you may rate him over Solanke and Toney, which, fine. You might even rate him over Jimenez. But I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, well, £70 million, which would stop us going for a big 6 or a big attacking midfielder, would have to go cheaper there. I'd rather go Grassi, who's got much better returns in terms of games played and goals and things like that in a better league. Which, hell, Stuttgart might be a better club than Juventus at the moment. I don't know if that's outlandish to say, but I'd rather that. And there's no way that Vlahovic is 4 times the striker, because you've got to think Grassi's going to cost in the mid-teens in terms of millions. Vlahovic is going to, even if it was 60 million, that's 4 times, It's going to cost about 70 million. It's about 4, nearly 5 times the value of Grassi. And that's why I think Grassi is going to be the guy. Out of those 5, Grassi is my pick. And I still really hope Spurs are in there, because value for money, even if he's not amazing, value for money is absolutely there. Absolutely there. Right, I know it's a long video, so far I'm going to rattle through this last little bit. So it came from Eric Connoy, said that Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, Newcastle are monitoring the situation of Union Saint-Gilloise, 23-year-old Algerian striker Mohamed Amoura. Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham and clubs from the Serie A continue to be linked with Amoura. So look, this is the extra guy that I was going to talk about. I'm going to give you some stats and details on the man himself. So, Mohamed Amoura, he's 23 years old. He will be 24 in a couple of weeks' time on May 9th. Attacking forward, plays a little bit of wing as well, and attacking midfield. So, a bit of variety there. His contract expires in the summer of 2027, and the club do have an option to extend for another year. Like I said, plays for St. Gilloise. 40 games across 6 competitions, with 22 goals and 6 assists. Like I said, they reckon he's going to be fairly cheap in sort of the mid-20s, I'd probably say. it might not be a bad punt, but as long as we go for a Grassi as well. If you want to get those two, I could kind of see that working. But I wouldn't want him to be the next striker and Richie become the main guy next season. I want someone to come in who potentially is the main guy next season and gives Richie a lot of issues because of that. That's what I would prefer. I want someone from a big league who's rocking and rolling, and that's what Grassi is for me. You know, that's what I'd say an Ivan Tonio Solanke can give you. It's what a Vlahovich give you. Hell, even Santiago Jimenez, I reckon, could give you. Obviously, Santiago, Tony, Solanke, and Vlahovich costing anywhere between about 50 and 70 million pounds. Grassi obviously costing you a fraction of that. Hell, if Grassi's going to be cheaper than this guy, you see my point, you know? But we shall see. But it's interesting that we're going to be going for striker more than a winger now. Moves Sonny back out to his natural starting position. I think it's interesting. But anyway, guys, in the video, I hope you did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comment section below. Your thoughts and feelings about those 6 guys and the fact that we now are more interested in a striker than we are a left winger. I want to know your thoughts and feelings about both all those players and all those things. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the notification for more. But anyway, guys, then a video, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.